Good evening. I'm Ebony Murphy-Root, a middle school humanities teacher, and I live in Long Beach. Welcome to Woman Crush Wednesday, where we talk to women who are changing the face of politics and power. From political candidates to policymakers, activists, and advocates, we talk to people about how they can engage, empower, and mobilize. The women you see are connected through progressive politics, organizing, and are passionate about supporting women, especially women of color, in their political journey. Make sure you know about the next Women Crush Wednesday by following us on Instagram, WCW Politics and Power. Joining me this evening is Cyndi Otteson, a leadership coach, a mother, a former political candidate for LA City Council, a nonprofit leader, and an award-winning marketer who coaches progressive candidates running for office.
Hi.
Marie Pavlich is a brand strategist at large and director of strategy for Perspectives. She's an activist in progress and on the board of Woodcraft Rangers, an after-school nonprofit that has been serving LA youth and community for 100 years.
Hello, everyone.
We also have Sarah Izzo, our showrunner. Thank you so much, Sarah. She's involved in political campaigns and organizing in her adopted home of Long Beach.
Thank you so much. Have fun.
Also joining us this evening is Caroline Menjivar, a lifelong public servant and San Fernando Valley resident, a veteran, and a proud Marine with a master's in social work. Caroline is endorsed by the East Valley Indivisibles, NARAL, California Working Families Party, Evolve California, the Democratic Party of the San Fernando Valley, California Environmental Voters, Stonewall Democratic Club, Heart of LA Democratic Club, Feminists in Action, and more. Learn more about Caroline on our website, www.carolinemenjivar.com. Welcome all.
Thank you, Ebony. Hi, everyone.
Hi, and
Hello.
LA Times endorsed too, right? Woohoo!
Yes, I just came in yesterday.
Congratulations.
Incredible. It has been phenomenal to see the LA Times get it right and endorse so many incredible progressive candidates. I'm hype every time I come in and I'm like, ah! So congrats.
Thank you, Cyndi.
So Caroline, tell us about yourself in this race. Why this office in particular?
No, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk your ears off about why I'm in this situation here, right? I'm looking to represent my community. This district, I can take up all our time talking about the personal and professional connections I have to every single community in this district. It's a district that is a majority Latino district. It's a district that fell under the Voting Rights Act to ensure that it gets equitable representation. It's a district that used to be represented by now U.S. Senator Alex Padilla. There's a lot of history and advocacy behind this district. And I looked at it as, I wanted to start at the state level. I've worked in local government before at a city level, but I felt that there were so much gaps where the state could and should step in that I told myself that's where I want to start. And the seat was opening up. I was like, well, the heavens have aligned for me to go for this seat. And I jumped on the opportunity to further advance my advocacy, because it's not like I'm coming in and saying, I want to do stuff now. I can turn to close to a 15-year track record of fighting in this community that I'm just looking to take up this battle up to Sacramento on a different platform.
And I believe that we might have your campaign video up and ready if you'd like us to show that. I think it's just a quick 30-second. Should we pull that up to get the spiel, get the pitch?
Are we going to let the machine decide who our next state senator is? Daddy giving his inexperienced son his Senate seat? Or are we going to elect a Marine, an EMT with a master's in social work to serve the needs of the Valley? An inheritance, or a true leader stepping up to give back to the community? You decide. Caroline Menjivar for State Senate.
I mean, I
So
choose
good.
leader.
Yeah. We know who we're going to elect.
Easy choice.
Speaking of machine politics, that is really what you're up against. $500,000 raised out the gate for your opponent without even having a single platform on his website. And I have a funny story. I actually met your opponent, didn't realize it, at a march in in Burbank this past weekend. I couldn't place who he was. He did not have any campaign materials, did not even introduce himself as a candidate. Somebody else did. And so would love to just hear a little bit about your experience of what that has been like as a candidate myself who ran against a big machine political party and system. So what has that been like for you?
No, absolutely. I didn't think I was going to be in this seat. Like I mentioned, I was ecstatic to be in in a seat that was an open seat. There's no incumbent, but it's as if I'm running against an incumbent, a 20 plus year incumbent, to say the least. His father has been the assembly speaker of the House up in Sacramento. So it was a curveball that I did not anticipate. We launched on the same day, 3 hours apart. Also not, something that we had planned on. I had no idea he was going to announce. We had heard one rumor before, but nothing concrete. And so, we had to adjust. I didn't think it was going to be this big of a uphill battle. I was blocked from the get-go, blocked in terms of endorsements, blocked, not giving opportunity to even interview in the beginning. The first, I want to say from August to December of last year, a difficult time where I questioned, staying in the race, thinking that there's no way, he's getting everything. And that story you share is very similar to what I was hearing. I would cold call labor leaders, and majority, if not all, in the beginning were telling me, oh, the father already called me. Oh, the senator already called me. The senator already called me. Not that the candidate was calling, but that the senator was calling. And to that, I would always respond, oh, I didn't know he was my opponent.
Yeah.
Because I was doing the work. And again, going up against an incumbent who was setting up these phone calls for his son. And, in a blink of an eye, was able to fundraise. Outside of these realms, women already come in second place when it comes to fundraising against men. Closing a woman or a man close their eyes, they're gonna be more prompt to donate to a male candidate than they are to a woman, no matter how qualified we are. What really helped me, Cyndi, and everyone else here is that after redistricting and after it was made a majority Latino seat, and I was then the only Latina there, things started changing. The momentum shifted when voters became engaged. Since the end of January until now, we haven't slowed our momentum. And we've seen a slowdown of a momentum on my opponent's side, where got all the Sacramento endorsements out of the way and wasn't able to secure any grassroots local endorsements.
What's fascinating about your race is that we are seeing the tide change. We are seeing that tipping point. We're seeing the breakthrough of what you just said, because we know that machine party politics is special interests. And so it doesn't matter for the people who have those special interests invested in their candidate, then they believe that they can just anoint this seat. And you have proven with your commitment, with your platform, with all of the lived experience that you have as a leader, that if you continue to put yourself out there, that we can break through. So congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
can feel it. I think so many people can, and it's giving us so much hope.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to ask you a little bit more about this LA Times endorsement. Were you expecting it? Were you shocked? And do you think this will help you expand your coalition? Because now, so many voters across the city are going to know there's Caroline Menjivar. I saw her in the LA Times.
This whole experience has been very humbling experience. I am the daughter of Salvadorian immigrants, a single mom. I grew up with having to get tickets at school because my mom couldn't afford those meals, or we got evicted at the age of almost 19 years old. I started working at 14 and a half years old. I had to get a waiver from school to start working so early, to be able to just pay for my stuff so my mom would have to worry. I never thought I was going to be in this situation whatsoever. When I saw the LA Times, you can imagine, I cried. I was, overwhelmed with emotion. And there were amazing quotes that were in that endorsement. They wrote it so beautifully. They were able to really capture it all, what was happening. But what really stood out for me, and it's I mentioned already, is the daughter of Salvadorian immigrants. That's the thing that has stuck with me since it came out. that after all the barriers that I had to endure, serving at a Don't Ask, Don't Tell, navigating my sexual orientation, not being accepted, I've been kicked out of restaurants, been called dyke. It could last a lifetime, the harsh things that I've had to face. To be here, it just meant the world. It was so validating of the work, the sleepless nights, to say, hey, this huge system saw or sees the work that I've done, am looking to do, and just put a huge stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome is a real thing.
Yeah.
I still have to suffer with that, from some time. So yesterday wasn't one of those days at all. It was very much, okay, this is meant to be. It really is. So I'm still on a high.
I was just going to say, thank you, Sarah. I was like, can we put that graphic up and celebrate? This is incredible. Yes.
Yay! So great.
And what is so incredible about this is that you go in and you interview with this editorial board, and they really grill you on the questions. And so it is your proven track record, and what your lived experience comes through. And so they couldn't look away from that. So congrats.
I think you asked me, did I see this coming? No, I was like, how could they, it was those questions. But I started to see the kind of endorsements they were announcing. And it was things that were pulled out of, this person has a track record, So I was like, oh, I have a track record.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she organizes the community. I was like, oh, I done that too. Maybe they will, So it was those things that I was like, maybe, if it's aligning with who they're endorsing, that made me think that it could be a possibility.
Sure. And I want to ask you how you have built this amazing coalition, because everywhere I go, even people who don't always agree are like, I'm supporting Caroline Menjivar. I'm supporting Caroline Menjivar. So how have you put together this coalition of diverse people from different backgrounds, from labor, from social issues, who want to support you? How did you do that?
Yeah, I come with this experience of already having to bring people from all types of backgrounds to accomplish a mission. Let me tell you, when I was in the Marine Corps, I had to lead over 15 Marines who were from Kentucky, Florida, Kansas, all types of backgrounds. But we had to set our differences aside and say, hey, this is our mission. We need to accomplish this. And I was their leader. I was I had the responsibility of getting from point A to point B, accomplish our task and so forth. That's really how I look at things now. When I worked for the mayor's office, I was his East Valley area representative. And if you know the East Valley, it's not all low income communities. The Sherman Oaks, Valley Village, Valley Glen, multi-million-dollar homes. And their needs were different than those of Pacoima, Panorama City, and Arleta. So I have experience of initiating campaigns and pulling at the things that people resonate with, not changing the message, because I'm not going to flip flop, but pulling things that people, like I mentioned, would resonate. So as a veteran, I can pull to maybe people that aren't as liberal, because they're like, oh, yes, you're a veteran, you're patriotic, you wore a uniform, As a social worker, people are like, yes, mental health is super important. You've been a domestic violence therapist, you know what it's like. So it's my very unique background that I bring that made sense as to why I had to do 10 different things in a span of 15 years.
Totally. I mean, it's so impressive, and it feels like I want to learn from you for our whole country. It feels like you're speaking to such a truth that we're trying to deal with. And I think I'd be curious to hear you talk a little bit more about how this unique background, how these unique experiences are going to make you a better leader in this space, and how it's also informed, the policies that you're talking about.
Absolutely. I'm a progressive candidate. I'm looking to bring universal childcare, social housing, guaranteed income for, at minimum, our transitioning out foster youth, our unhoused youth, at minimum. I am looking to take us away from our fossil fuel dependency, championing climate change. These are and universal healthcare for all. These are all very progressive issues. But I turn to this a lot. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. And I'm very, very, very proud of that identity. That was 7.5 years of my young adult life during the time where my brain was still being developed and so forth, my early 20s. So I turn to that a lot. And not all progressive individuals think that's a good thing. But you shouldn't look at veterans as monolith. We are very diverse. And I think to have a progressive veteran in office is something people should watch out for, because a progressive veteran is never ever going to stand down from a fight against corporation, against special interests. State Senate District 20 could potentially have a fighter, a literal fighter defending them from special interests up in Sacramento. So that's something unique I bring to the table. That's special. Working as an EMT, I bring a medical background with me. Obviously, one of the very first levels of the medical field, right? But it's still a unique understanding of how do we push legislation to support our healthcare workers. Because I've had to be in ERs waiting hours at a time because there's no beds. Because I've had to transport patients on psychiatric holds because there's no resources for mental illnesses. Because I've been to skilled nursing facilities to see how our elder patients are treated because there's no accountability for these profited skilled nursing facilities. I bring that unique understanding. Working as a therapist, I can talk about policies that we need to initiate to close the gap on further protecting victims of crime. Working in local government, I know which communities I can turn to when I'm looking for advice, for guidance on what legislation is going to really impact our communities. And lastly, working for a nonprofit, which I currently do right now, has also allowed me a firsthand experience on what are the needs of what we're seeing in the community, the stories of the individuals. So all of that, when we talk about what committees I could be in Sacramento, I could be in so many different committees because I bring that unique perspective with me.
Wow. I have to ask you, in light of Roe poised to fall, with this wonderful intersectional lens that you bring to all these issues, how are you prepared to lead in this area? How are you prepared to help make sure that California is the sanctuary state that we need it to be for people who need reproductive care?
First, I want to say I'm the only candidate in this race that's been endorsed by NARAL, Pro-Choice, America. So that's a huge thing. And, it's again a validation on my work. I started my advocacy when I was 19 years old. I protested in Hollywood against Prop 8 because they were trying to take away my ability to get married. Obviously, at 19 years old, I wasn't thinking about getting married, but I still, if I wanted to, I thought it was very important. I've been fighting for same-sex and LGBTQ plus rights almost my whole life. The very first march we had here in LA, since when I can remember, for Women's March, when Trump got into office, I was there front and center. These are things that are personal issues to me, not just because I'm a woman, of course, because I'm a woman, but you'll see many women who are voting against this in other cases. But it's not because of that, because this is a human right. I recently participated in a rally for this, and I started to talk about this because this isn't going to affect every single person who has the ability to bear children. This is going to affect the minority women. This is going to affect trans men. This is going to affect people who are unable to pay for a flight to come to California. And if it is officially because it's leaning towards that, I want to make sure up in Sacramento, we are allocating funds to provide a haven for individuals who are going to want to come to California to seek services for what they may need. Not just to cover their services, but to talk about a pot that we can create to cover transportation, because that's going to be a barrier for so many people. So in a way, California is going to have to act as if we're going to be our own little country that is going to have our own protections. And I'm very excited for Governor Newsom to jump on it to, in our state, codify it and make sure that it's set in stone here in California in protection of Roe v. Wade. And I will, honestly, I mentioned before, I'm a fighter, a big time fighter. And this is something I will go, I'm not going to get too graphic here, but I would, lay my body down for this. This is number one priority, 100% number one priority for me. So I will make sure we are gathering extra people up in Sacramento on our bench. make sure our voices are going to be heard in Washington, D.C., and creating coalitions with individuals like you, other organizations, to make sure our voices are heard.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. It's just so, I'm getting chills listening to you. So it feels like that's a feeling you want to get for the person that you're going to be voting for, who's going to be representing you and taking on those fights, because the fights are real right now. And we do need somebody who will do that for us. I know that we are going to close out shortly, but before we do, is there any, final thoughts on important issues that you want people to know that you are fighting for on your campaign? You've talked about some of them, but are there any that we've missed that you just want to make sure people are aware of?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about environmental injustices in this area. This is a district, like I mentioned, it's working families. It's some huge pockets of immigrant refugee communities, monolingual or non-English speaking communities. And you can imagine navigating systems can be a barrier, digital access and so forth. So, this district has 3 airports within a 10 to 12 mile radius. No other district really has that. We have one of the worst poor air qualities in Southern California, and one of the highest rates of ER visits for children with asthma because of the bad air quality. About 2 weeks ago, was visiting a supporter, was dropping off a lawn sign, who with her, I battled and I placed complaints with AQMD or South Coast on nearby corporations, where you can physically off the 5 freeway see 50 pile high of just dust, of debris, just sitting there. And it's been sitting there for years. That on today was when a windy day gets blown into everyone's lungs. She was sharing with me that a neighbor of hers died during the pandemic. She had asthma that was brought on when moving there. We know people who died from the pandemic. Most of them had already some illnesses, some conditions. And I think about that if we would have addressed these corporations ahead of time, would this woman be alive today? And it makes me sick to my stomach that we continue to pollute communities of color and no other communities. So I'm looking to champion the closure of Whiteman Airport in Pacoima, for us to bring something else to the community that's going to be beneficial, and it's not going to be directly impacting the little lungs of the children there. So environmental justice is something that's also going to be on my top priorities up in Sacramento.
We need you representing this district, because you are centering the most vulnerable and marginalized communities, which we know get displaced, get the majority of that when there's special interests at play. So thank you so much for running. And I just want to give an opportunity to invite everyone watching and who will continue to watch this stream to use their time and their money to fight to help elect you to be the representative. So what can we do besides going to your website and donating? Tell us about some of the upcoming events that you might be having. We've got less than 4 weeks left. Mail-in ballots will fully be dropped by Friday. Most people have, starting to get them already. So talk a little bit about call to actions.
Yeah, of course. Money is always going to be a thing for candidates, but right now it's GOTV time. Get out the vote. If you're a shy person and you don't want to knock on doors with me, then tax banking. Just now, my wife sent 2,000 texts in 1 hour. It's as simple as that. You can text while watching Netflix, your murder documentaries that we're all into nowadays, and then just press send. You can do this at any time from the comfort of your own couch. So this is the easiest lift for people, and you can be living in Texas and wherever, North Cal, and do this. If you want to do that, please go to our website. There's a volunteer, or email me. The website is there. And then there's other events that I have, like this Friday, having a food truck fundraiser, where you come just have dinner here, and the business is going to provide a contribution to my campaign, depending on how successful the night is. So come have dinner there. It is at a brewery, so you can have dinner and a beer there. My mom does food fundraisers. We're cooking pupusas next Saturday in my backyard. Come have pupusas
So
with
good.
me. And then next Sunday, we're having a huge Canvas event with California Women's List. So, if you sign up for text, you'll get an email as well to participate. But it's really all hands on deck. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to have a campaign win. So please join us in whatever capacity you can.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And please come and join Food Truck Fun, pupusas, canvassing, and text banking, which is the gateway drug to all local political and political campaigns. It's as easy as tapping that space bar. A lot of people don't realize how easy it is. So thank you. Thank you so much, Caroline.
Thank you, everyone.